Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode in the Energize with Bram podcast. And today I have a question for you. Have you ever gone through a transitionary period? A time where you just felt that the old you is not quite there anymore and it's transitioning across to a new you. This is exactly where I'm at today as well. And using an analogy, when we talk about snakes, for example, we know that they shed their skins and then they leave it behind and they move into the new themselves. It's exactly what I feel like today. And I thought, is this something that I would want to share with people? Is this something that, other people could even benefit from? And you know what? Screw it, let's do it. As Richard Branson says, I'm just going to share it with you because I feel that more and more people are in a position where they feel that what they've been doing isn't quite working for them. And they also know, without really knowing how, but know that it's time to go and do something different. Is this something that you can relate to so far? Yes, I hope it is. Let's just be honest. Us human beings, we have all sorts of responsibilities, as we become adults. We've got, we have a family, we've got kids, we've got parents to look after potentially, we've got siblings, we've got a community also that we're part of. We got our team, we got our clients, we got our suppliers, our business partners. We got all of that basically, our colleagues if you're an employee. There's so many different hats that we wear. And sometimes we get taught to do things a certain way and we do it because we think, well, that's how we're supposed to do it. But then some time into it, we feel it's not quite that it's not really working for us very well. A lot of things are a bit of a struggle. It's challenging. We're working hard, but it's not really kind of paying off potentially. People are doing our head in. Teamwork isn't really teamwork. Great bosses or great companies that we worked for, and not suddenly the bosses show a different side to them. And all of this is basically stuff that can be challenging to deal with. Challenges at home potentially, challenges at work, challenges personally, emotionally, spiritually, all of that. And so I'd like again to go back to some of the roots messages that I've always been talking about since day dot when I started my training and coaching career like 21 years ago. And that one is that everything is feedback. Everything is feedback. So the feelings that we have inside, they're telling us something. It's talking to us. It's whispering in our ears. It's trying to get our attention. But guess what? I've been definitely here. I sometimes overrode it. I kind of dismissed it. I put it down. I kind of tucked it in a corner and I just kept marching on because, hey, I said I would and so I have to. And notice now what I just said. The obligation that we sometimes put ourselves under to do something because we have to, not because we choose to. Notice the difference. Having to makes us kind of surrender to something else outside of us. Whilst when we choose to, we kind of allow ourselves to grow to a different level and doing something. And I'm sharing this again in full transparency with you because, as I said earlier, I feel that I've been shredding my skin like a snake getting ready for a new season, transitioning from old to new, and leaving one phase behind me and moving into a new phase just ahead of me. And actually, I'm just already with one foot into it. Okay? I stepped across the porch and the door is open and I can still look behind me, but I can definitely also see that in front of me is where I'm going. This thing behind me is no longer suiting me. It's no longer working for me. And so, have you ever had a BS story or an excuse that you made or something where you felt that you were a victim of something or someone else externally? Guess what? Hey, I'm putting both of my hands up. If I would have 4 hands, I'd put 4 of my hands up. I always like talking about proactivity and being proactive and taking responsibility. But in all honesty, here and there, I have also subscribed to the BS radio station of stories and lame excuses. And once again, I'm not saying that I'm never going to do it again, but I'm also learning that it's time. It's time to let also some of those stories go once and for all and put them behind me. And I want to also at this point in time check in with you. Where is it possible that you have a story that you entertain of some kind where you are basically the person who has been treated unfairly, and where people are not respecting you, or they're not honoring you, or they're not really looking after you or doing the right thing by you? Because really, as soon as you're there, this is where you're in victim mindset, where you have a story that you try to make sure that you probably believe it. And then you try to share that story with others and you want them to believe it. Because all you want is just like a big hug, a big cuddle, and just said like, poor Bram, or whatever your name is, yeah, it's all good, we'll look after you and whatever. It's time, isn't it? Isn't it time? Time to rise. Time to embrace the new. The stuff that we've been so scared of doing. Trusting the unknown. Kind of surrender to the serenity of what awaits us. And most importantly, back to the feedback that I spoke about, acknowledge the feedback that we've been getting. I've had now several messages just in the last 2 days in one particular area where I just know that, I can keep going the way I have, or I can face it and acknowledge the message that once again I've been delivered, and say thank you for the messages, and now finally do something constructive with it, something new. Because I have to say, I have very, very hard programmed habits, and I'm sure you do too, right? I'll be honest, finances, they've been a learning journey for me. This is the area that I'm actually now talking about, that I felt challenged by and have been for many years. I'm good at attracting money. I'm good at potentially at multiplying money, but I'm not necessarily good at, or haven't, let's just say I have had challenges in the areas of managing money. And again, this is one area of life where people receive feedback in. Now, whether you are in a different area, you have relationships, or you haven't been able to keep a job, or you struggle to really find confidence within yourself, or you've allowed people to take you for a ride. You know where I'm going. There's all these areas, mental health, emotional health, well-being, all of that sort of stuff. We've got all these areas that as humans, we can feel challenged by. As I said, mine has been, for example, money. And as I'm kind of unpacking this with you, you can see I'm free-flowing. I'm just allowing myself to share what comes to me. As I actually realized, what sort of journey have I been on with money? Here's it. This is the story that I've created for myself, right? Born in a family of entrepreneurs. Grandfather, uncle, mother, entrepreneurs. Dad being slightly different, employee, engineer, working for one company for his whole life. As I grew up, learned, the ropes of family business and working in it during holidays and weekends and all of that, and just helping my parents and my family, but also making money, yes, because I wanted money. I wanted to buy things and enjoy life and have not one surfboard, but 4 of them, and kind of change them out regularly, and all these sorts of things. at some stage in my life, I realized that, you know what, some of these adults here that are supposed to be my role models, they're not necessarily showing me the right way on how to do things. Like one person, and I won't say names, I felt like this person wasn't treating people overall very well, but more importantly, the people really close to this person, oh my goodness, what was he doing, right? Just really, I didn't feel the love. And because at that point in time, I was kind of being groomed to become a successor in the business and, learning the ropes of hospitality businesses and managing staff and dealing with suppliers and the likes, then I don't know, but somehow unconsciously, or actually consciously, I made a decision that, when people like him, this person in my family, is treating other people in such a way, and it's all about money for him, I kind of created a thought or a belief system that money was bad. And just imagine what this does. Whatever belief you believe in, that has consequences. That is almost like a program that is installed on your computer. And that program might well and truly work well and it serves you, but it could also really work against you, and therefore there's a bug in the system. That thought that I accepted in that moment in time was a bug. Because here's then what it connected also to. It connected in also to another one, a thought that I actually picked up from my mother that has been good with making money, but also not been really good with managing money and multiplying money. And these are really the three skills that I think around money that people want to develop. I definitely want to, and I definitely am on a journey to keep learning in these areas. But back to the story of Mom. Mom would then have the idea that, she would be limitless and kind of abundant, and which is great, right? And she would spend. And she would spend and really not have any strategy to money on how to manage it and multiply the money, right? She would just earn it and spend it, earn it and spend it. And I remember as a kid, I started to believing into the thought that money was there to fuel the economy, and guess where my money went? It always went, for as long as I treasured that thought, that belief. And again, I'm sharing this openly and transparently with you because catch yourself on thinking certain things, subscribing to certain ideas, accepting certain things to be truthful, and then assessing objectively how that is working for you. Okay? I've known that those two things that I kind of picked up along the way and kind of accepted for real have not worked for me. And here's now where the story continues. Then I grow up, venture off after studying 7 years in university and go off to do my first job and earn my own money and show the world what great stuff I'm up to, right? 5.5 years then into that one, okay, I learned few things, then met a woman, she was from Australia, followed her here, there you go, boom. Moved the all around the world to start a new life, a new chapter, or so I thought. Then I realized that up until that moment in time, I had constantly had victim ideas in that translated as such around relationships. The relationships were the idea that I had about it was, I'm not made for one woman for the rest of my life. Secondly, would be, I don't believe in marriage. Hell, my parents never were an exemplary couple. So why would I ever want to recreate what they had or didn't have, right? What a mess. So 2 other ideas that I kind of took for real were just always there simmering in the background. And guess what happened every time when I was in a relationship? 6 months, 8 months, maybe a year. And on 2 occasions, 2 years, of which the first 4 were great. And probably the last few months and years were not that great, right? This was just unconsciously sabotaging my relationships. Those two thoughts that I just openly shared with you, with the awareness that I have right now. Now it gets interesting. The last, or let's say, the one relationship that I moved to Australia for, here's the lame idea or the lame excuse that I gave myself why I moved around the world. I said I did it for her. With my now awareness, when I put my hand on my heart, I wasn't doing it for her. I was doing it for two reasons. One, I didn't get the promotion that I wanted back in Europe. And I kind of wanted to say to my boss, saying, hey, if you don't give me what I want, I'm out of here. And two, I just wanted to really do something completely different and wanted to see what Australia was about and just have a different experience. And this is just me honestly owning up to why I made the decision to pack my bags, quit my job, and move all around the world. I use her as an excuse, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong about her. I'm only explaining here that my thought process, how I dealt with things, and now how I own up to the decisions I made and the consequences of those. Now, I have to also say, all of these experiences, what happened at home back in Europe when I was still a little boy, going through university then and kind of making the decision that, hey, I don't need this and I don't need to necessarily emulate my role models in my family. I actually can carve my own way. And then, of course, also this whole journey from moving around the world for so-called love. It all has contributed to, obviously, my learning way. And again, I'm sharing it with you because I'd like you to be honest with yourself and kind of reflect, because the universe, source, the quantum field, life, whatever you call it, if you want to call it a God or an Allah or whatever, right? It all aspires to help us. And I think I haven't been always very good at accepting that. I've been talking about it. I haven't always allowed the messages to really hit home. Now, when it hits home, it means that your self-awareness has welcomed it in and accepted it for a message that it's trying to convey to you to help you. Two is then, with that new awareness and the new knowledge and sensitivity around everything, you take different actions from there, and therefore you transition from the old to a new. So, why am I sharing all this here? And again, using the story. I'm choosing consciously to transition from the old to the new. And in this area, for example, with money, the financial side of things, I'm taking ownership. I think I've been too long making up excuses, and sometimes people around me suffered as a consequence of that. We make decisions thinking that it's just for us, but guess what? It has repercussions. And so, yes, it's time to do something different. Clean up the mess at times, if there is a mess, and take responsibility, communicate if you have to, make yourself accountable, so that it's not just decisions you make for yourself, especially if you're a business owner like myself, kind of the buck stops with you, but guess what? It doesn't have to. Because I do feel that, and by the way, this is a really good slogan behind me here, is that it's not just on our own that we're going to succeed. We need other people around us, the right people around us, to help us, guide us, cheer us on, challenge us also, and provide feedback. Be a mirror to us, so that we have more messages that we can listen to, let it percolate, embrace if it really has value, if it comes from a good space from the person saying it, and you can actually feel if somebody says something to you, whether it's true what they say or not, and this is just instantly, you just feel it. Notice now, I'm not saying that you think that they might be right. You actually feel it when somebody says something to you and it just hits home, it lands, it speaks to your heart. You know in a fraction of a second that what they said is a gem. And therefore you gotta act in line with it. Actually, you choose to acknowledge it, validate it, and back it up with the right action. This is where I'm at, guys. So far, I hope that you're getting something from this. It's interesting for me to kind of share this sort of stuff with you as part of my Energize with Bram podcast. I will make a few tweaks in what I've been doing in the previous sessions. I'm changing the way that I go in with my intent. That's one thing that I've got in mind. Example of that, I think sometimes I might have gone into certain videos, certain conversations with people, sometimes thinking a little bit more about my benefits instead of somebody else's. And I'm sharing that again openly because no more of that. Everything now is about looking to serve, tuning in, making a difference. This was the number one reason why I went in, let's say, why I started really liking my business. I can't say that I started my business that way, because it was kind of haphazard as I, got to Australia that I started. But as I really started to, shed some of the naivety that I had. Is that a word actually? Naivety? Naiveness? Whatever, you get the gist. As I let go of some of that naivety, there I go again, and allowed myself to become a bit more mature in business and learn from some of the scars that we pick up along the way, and I'm sure you have some too. I definitely would have, let's say, seen that making a difference is fun. Like every time when a client comes back to us and says, hey, I got so much value from Communication Mastery, or Business Development Accelerator, it's really helped us, get our sales process nailed, or anything else we've done. We work with business owners also in the Profit Freedom Machine. I do that together with Alan Short. We've got a diamond membership, we've got a silver membership, we've got all these places, and every time when people report back that something that we've done together has helped them big time, that reminds me each and every time, not here but here, that how great it is to have the privilege to be able to help people with something that we have some knowledge and know-how and expertise in, right? And if it works for them, hey, guess what? It puts a smile on my face. It energizes me. And so we always talk about it's important to have purpose and passion and all of that. I think sometimes we go a little bit overboard with being too much in our head. And I certainly have been there. And if you strategize something, or if you look at how can you do something so that you can win a deal or get something across the line or any of that, really, it's a very lopsided way of doing things, a very one-sided perspective. And yeah, it's so much more valuable and enjoyable and so much more peaceful and satisfying when we can actually really work together and reach the stars, as the statement says here behind me. So together we reach the stars. It's something that reminds me every single day about what I'm here to do. Remind me of the thing that I'm not here as solo. It's in collaboration with others, and that we're here to serve and make a difference. And the mountain is always there. There's always a mountain, whether in your personal life, in your career, in your business life, your relationship, your family, your spiritual life, whatever, there's always a mountain to climb. Your financials, there's a mountain to climb potentially. And so we all have certain things that we do really well at, and it kind of comes natural. I also firmly believe that we can do a lot more in all of the areas and do it a lot easier and more seamless, and once again, more peaceful. And I think it all starts with heart. Tuning in with our heart. Let this be the starting point. And let our head get in the game. To put some smart into it. And always be chaperoned and led by the heart. I know that for sure that as I reflect back on certain phases in my life, I haven't always done that the right way. I think I sometimes allowed my head to get ahead of myself, and sometimes not listening to certain messages from the universe and from other people around me that meant well and actually had a really valid point. Sometimes we get a bit self-righteous, or we think that, nah, I know better. Ever been there? I put up my hand again. So it's important that we really tune more in with what's truthful rather than what is likable. Again, and as I'm hearing myself speak, I'm even learning myself and progressing there. As I said, this is a transitionary period. I've had one 2 years ago. Yeah, but actually 2 years ago. How interesting. I just realized it. It's almost exactly 2 years ago. Interesting experience. And this is one where I could easily have pointed fingers. And initially that was my first reaction. To give you an example or an idea what the situation looked like, I had a retreat overseas with entrepreneurs joining us there and senior leaders, booked for in advance. We committed, contractually speaking, with a venue to X amount of rooms for X amount of nights at X amount of dollars each, with breakfast, a venue to do our 3-day event there, catering for the event, and all sorts of other things as well. And when we were close to the event, we actually didn't have the exact number of participants that we, contractually speaking, had committed to. And therefore, we fell short. Then you can imagine, if you haven't got the number of people that you committed to, then, well, you can do two things. You can negotiate, which I try to do. And the second one was to basically cough up the difference out of my own pocket and pay the venue for rooms that we weren't using, rooms, by the way, that they would also sell on, right, to other people, because there was plenty of demand, but still charges for it. And again, here's the learning lesson, which again, this is now reflecting on. The learning lesson was, you commit, and you got to know what the consequences are. And when you do it, you got to come up with the goods, one way or the other. What I did though is I first try to get myself out of the deal by renegotiating. When that didn't then go according to plan, I started to really get emotional about it because it was a lot of money out of pocket. Then there was a whole, and by the way, this is interesting how the universe sometimes helps us by creating more pain to make us truly realize what's going on and that it's actually there to help us, not hurt us. So the pressure kept growing, because as we arrived overseas in the venue, our room was not even booked. We didn't have a room. I had to, and the staff weren't very helpful to find me a room. Then the venue that we needed for the 3 days was also not available, and I actually had to not only find my own room for me and my family to stay in for the whole retreat, I also had to find another venue at a different resort that we actually had to, first of all, get there to, and from a 5-star it dropped down to a 3.5 star. And so you can imagine, more pain, more challenge, more difficulties, more hardship, more stress. Ever heard that? Ever felt that? So anyway, it just was all there to keep saying, Bram, be smart, like make decisions that you can hold up, that you can honor. And if you don't, how are you going to keep up with it? So basically, be ready for a plan B and so on. So anyway, here's what the old Bram did. First, after I didn't get my way, angry child, I started to raise my voice. I started to go back to them, and at one stage, especially after they didn't look after our own room, and I had to do everything myself, and I thought like, hey guys, you should be helping me get this sorted. I just dropped one of the words that I probably shouldn't have done. As soon as that happened, it was reported to a GM. The GM sent me an email and basically threatened me to throw us and our whole group off the premises if I wouldn't basically shut up. Now, this thing escalated big time. Now, you can imagine, this is just before the retreat is about to start, and I have a responsibility to my clients to give them not only a great experience, but add tremendous value to them, which is exactly what I had promised them. So that's what I wanted to deliver. Now, on the other side, I'm being challenged with all this stuff happening and this whole debacle. And I have to say, it was very, very challenging. But here's again the point. Sometimes life amps it up a notch, raises the difficulty level, almost like in a game, a computer game, just to see, are you ready now to fully embrace it and take it on? And so, before I conclude on this example there, old Bram then basically stripped back initially, focused on delivering value to the clients, and it was a beautiful retreat and the clients loved it. And afterwards, I thought, now I need to get even with this mob that treated us in such a bad way. So I wrote a very nasty testimonial on one of the, TripAdvisor or whatever, about this venue, and particularly the two managers involved, without saying the name, but at least the titles, of how they had so unfairly treated us. And as I wrote that, here again, I'm sharing what awareness does. When you pick yourself up and you actually tune in with a different message that you've gotten earlier, like the hard stuff along the way, and rather than trying to be right, trying to listen to what was actually being said. And I realized, if I'm going to entertain the slightest idea of these people have wronged us and they are bad and I'm right, and even more importantly, allow my feelings to get stuck in resentfulness and anger and frustration and being wronged, it's like drinking poison and expecting them to die of it. And that is only gonna get worse for me. I'm gonna feel shitty and bad for this for a long time, and I'm gonna always have this grudge. Anytime when somebody speaks about the venue, I see a picture of the venue, or even think if ever I were to set foot in the country again, and straight away I would have a negative trigger attached to this venue and these people. And I didn't want any of that. I consciously decided and chose to let go of the old and put it behind me and focus on the new. And that was another transition time for me. So the action I took in line with my newfound truth was I took that testimonial off straight away, and I actually counted my blessings for that whole experience, and I wrote it down in a journal of mine. Here's the interesting thing. The more we start being grateful and counting our blessings for some of the hardship we experienced along the way, the more that the grudge that we held kind of fizzles out. It loses its energy. it loses its strength and its pull on us. And if I were to use the analogy of a household, which is one that I've been using for years and years as well, some of us, and actually probably all of us at some stage in our life, have initially a tendency to hold grudges, and it's like the household holding on to garbage. You can imagine, if you're not just doing this for a day or a week or a month, if you pile up more and more garbage in your house, not only will it get really crowded, it will actually reek and it will stink the longer this goes on. And it's the same internally. The more grudges we hold on to, the more feelings of entitlement we have to feel wronged by someone else and for us to be right, and hold on to all the logical stories that we then create to support and justify our feeling and actually exacerbate the whole situation. The more garbage we're allowing in our internal household. And I would warmly invite you to please look after you first. That is by tossing out the garbage, tossing out the dead weight, the dead wood, the excessive weight, the shackles that keep you locked in your position and that even might erode your health, might sabotage your self-esteem, might corrupt your relationships, and might undermine your success overall in your career, your business, your finances, and so on. So again, with this being said, we're about 36 minutes into this here. I hope you got some value. I'd love to hear how this has helped you. And any thoughts or questions, just shoot in my way. I'm here to help, I'm here to serve. I'm on a mission to help a lot of people in the areas of business growth, professional growth, personal growth, and financial growth. And darn, I'm on this journey and I will do what it takes, and I look forward for you to being part of this journey with me. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Energize with Bram. Thank you.